The haunting of the house at 657 Boulevard. For Derek and Maria Brodius, buying the house at 657 Boulevard in early 2014 had fulfilled a lifelong dream. Growing up working class, they had worked hard and long and made their way up the corporate ladder to buy a 6-bedroom house in Westfield, New Jersey for $1.3 million. One day, while doing some renovations on the house, Derek stopped working to take a look at the mail that the mailman had just dropped off. Since they had just bought the house 3 days earlier and hadn't even moved in yet, Derek wasn't expecting much. Sorting through the various junk mail, he stopped on a white card-shaped envelope with no return address. It was addressed in thick, clunky handwriting to the new owner, and the typed note inside started with, "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood." Thinking it was just some nice welcome to the neighborhood letter from one of the neighbors, Derek continued reading the letter, which got increasingly weirder as the letter eventually started to say, "How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call to you with its force within?" The letter went on, 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out. Derek was about to toss the letter in the trash, thinking it was some kind of stupid prank. The thing is, the letter was incredibly specific and correct about some of the info it had on the Brodises. The letter identified the Brodises' Honda minivan as well as the workers renovating the home. It even identified Derek and Maria's 3 children, stating, "You have children, I have seen them. So far I think there are 3 that I have counted." Then creepily adding, "Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me." The letter finished with, "Welcome, my friends, welcome, let the party begin," followed by a signature, "The Watcher." Completely freaked out, Derek ran into the house, turned off the lights, locked all the doors, then called the Westfield Police Department. An officer came to the house to investigate and read the letter. The cop asked Derek a few questions, asked if he had any enemies, and then recommended moving a piece of construction equipment from the back porch in case someone tried to toss it through a window, and then the cop left. Luckily, Derek's family were at the old home that they hadn't moved out of yet, so Derek rushed back to them. That night, Derek and Maria wrote an email to John and Andrea Woods, the couple who sold them the house on 657 Boulevard, to ask if they had any idea who this watcher might be. Andrea Woods replied the next morning. A few days before moving out, the Woodses had also received a letter from the watcher. The note had been odd, she'd said, and made similar mention to the watcher's family observing the house over time, but Andrea said she and her husband had never received anything like it in their 23 years in the house and had thrown the letter away without much thought. The Brodises spent the coming weeks on high alert. 2 weeks after the letter arrived, Maria stopped by the house to look at some paint samples and check the mail. She recognized the thick black lettering on a card-shaped envelope. "Welcome again to your new home at 657 Boulevard," the watcher wrote. "The workers have been busy. Have they found what is in the walls yet? In time, they will." The letter went on to identify the Brodises' 3 kids by birth order and by their nicknames. "I'm pleased to know your names now and the names of the young blood you have brought to me," it said. The letter asked about one child in particular whom the writer had seen using an easel inside an enclosed porch, saying, "Is she the artist of the family?" The watcher finished the letter by saying, 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. Have you found all the secrets it holds yet? All the windows and doors in 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house. Who am I? I am the watcher. Have a happy moving in day. You know I will be watching. Derek and Maria stopped bringing their kids to the house. They were no longer sure when or if they would move in. Several weeks later, a 3rd letter arrived. "Where have you gone to?" the watcher wrote. 657 Boulevard is missing you. The Brodises began to suspect that the watcher might be someone upset over losing out on buying the house. But there wasn't much hard evidence, and after a few weeks, the police chief told the Brodises that short of an admission, there wasn't much the department could do. Frustrated, the Brodises began their own investigation. Derek became especially obsessed. He set up webcams at 657 Boulevard and spent nights crouched in the dark watching to see if anyone was watching the house at close range. They even employed a private investigator who staked out the neighborhood and ran background checks on neighbors, but didn't find anything noteworthy. The watcher had left nothing digital, no fingerprints, and no way to place someone at the scene of a crime that could have been hatched from pretty much any mailbox in northern New Jersey. Things got so bad that Derek showed the letter to his priest, who agreed to actually bless the house, but this did little to calm the nerves of the family. And the letters kept coming from the watcher, becoming more and more unhinged. The house is crying from all the pain it is going through. You have changed it and made it so fancy. You're stealing its history. It cries for the past and what used to be in the time when I roamed its halls. 657 Boulevard is turning on me. What spell did you cast on it? 657 Boulevard needs young blood. Let the young blood play again like I once did. Let the young blood sleep in 657 Boulevard. By then, the Broaddus's had sold their old home, but were still too afraid to move into their new home. They were forced to move in with Maria's parents while continuing to pay the mortgage and property tax on 657 Boulevard. 6 months later, after the letter arrived, the financial and mental strain was just too much. The Broaddus's decided to sell 657 Boulevard. They initially listed it for more than they paid to reflect the renovations they'd done, but several preliminary bids came in well below the asking price, as rumors had already begun to swirl about why the house sat empty. They then lowered the price, but as the rumors persisted, there were no takers, so they took the home off the market. The Broaddus's then borrowed money from family members to buy a second home in Westfield, despite the fact that they had to pay the mortgage on 657 Boulevard, not to mention all the money spent on renovations, as well as $100,000 in property taxes, and the money spent investigating who the watcher really was. Nearly 3 years after they first bought the house that they never moved into, a family with grown children and 2 big dogs had agreed to rent 657 Boulevard from Derek and Maria. 2 weeks later, Derek went to 657 to deal with squirrels that had taken up residence on the roof. The renter handed him an envelope that had just arrived. It was from the watcher, and it simply read this: "To the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife Maria, you are despised by the house, and the watcher won."